You know, this didn't just happen in 1967 that the arena was built. It started actually in 1946 by people like T.G. Smith and P.S. Ginter wrote letters on behalf of the kids in Steinbach. They needed something.
He pushes from the moment he gets to Steinbach in the late 40s, just about the time that I was born, is for this community to do kind of what other little communities around us were beginning to do. La Broquerie, St. Pierre, they had covered rinks. Shame on Steinbach.
There was a playground association started in the 1960s, early 60s, and they built the first initial building that houses the Pistons Club right now. That block building was built in 1958, I believe, for about $4,000 with donations, and that was the meeting point. So all that was open space with a dressing room, couple of bathrooms, and 2 dressing rooms with nothing but concrete wall. And on the east side of the rink was the outdoor arena where the kids would play hockey and the Steinbach Huskies or East Side Eagles would play. And on the north side, where this current ice surface sits, was a large pleasure skating rink. And on the west side here was a smaller pleasure skating, learn to skate rink, maybe. And the 2 rinks had lights and so on. It was run by the Steinbach Playground Association.
So in terms of my dad's passion to get this facility for this community, because it's necessary and this is a good community, it deserves it, he was asked to serve on the Chamber of Commerce. And he said, well, okay, but, gentlemen, you understand that if I am going to serve on the Chamber of Commerce, I will be a one-issue politician.
A referendum in 1966 and 67 actually, finally it broke through that they were going to build an arena.
Steinbach, we were playing our games in La Broquerie, I believe, at that time. So to play a first game here would have been a highlight, no doubt about it.
There was 2,000 people. One of those people at the opening was me. I was 11 years old. I stood right here in the corner behind the wire mesh, and my dad allowed me to come. After the opening ceremonies, the Steinbach Eagles and La Broquerie Habs played a hockey game. I had to go home after the first period. But I remember standing here with my face against the mesh, and during warm-ups, these big hockey players come flying by in the wind, and the smell of the ice, the whole thing was exhilarating. I have that memory to this day.
I can't remember scoring any goals, but apparently I did score the first goal in this rink. Ice was natural ice. Big crowds. Always big crowds.
The Steinbach hockey teams could not play playoff hockey in this rink because the league rules stipulated that you had to play on an artificial ice surface. So they could only play their playoff games either in La Broquerie or in St. Pierre. So the discussion happened at council, and they put out another referendum for roughly $60,000 to put in an artificial ice plant. So the next year, in 1968, the referendum passed. So they poured an ice slab, they poured a concrete slab, and then they put the lines on top of that slab and then poured another layer to give it artificial ice, and the boards were installed.
Now it is what it is, but then it was state of the art. The newest arena in rural Manitoba, so it was pretty good.
So my memories would go back to the early 1970s, I guess, when the Smith rink wasn't here yet, only the Centennial. So yeah, good memories from back then, you know, coming to some Husky games in the 70s. Those are memories that, you know, people of my generation will remember fondly.
So I played senior hockey, and we would be in the dressing room, which was right under these seats. Yeah, right. So you could hear the noise, the people. And there wasn't that much else to do in Steinbach, so our games were kind of like the Pistons today, played before packed rink.
People hanging from the rafters. I couldn't believe but people didn't have anything else to do, so they came to watch us play hockey.
And we'd be down under the stands, and we'd be listening to all this, and we'd come out here, and it was pretty close to the NHL. That's about, for me, that was pretty close to the NHL.
Well, I guess some of the events, late 70s, the Allen Cup run that the Huskies had. In more recent years, Eastman Selects have had some championships here. The Pistons, obviously, junior Huskies, senior Huskies. There's a lot of local hockey history here, so a lot of my memories would revolve around some of those championship playoff runs.
So growing up, the 1977 bronze winning team from the Olympics, the German national team, played hockey against the local MEHL All-Stars. That game here in 1977 was a highlight.
By the time I was a young kid, this was where I would come. And back then, it was the boys played hockey and the little sisters watched in the foyer, right? And probably somewhere along right about here, when I was, I think 6 or 7, me and that pole right there had a big collision, and that was the first time in my life that I was taken in for stitches. And no, it wasn't a hockey accident, it was me and that pole.
The Allen Cup run with the Steinbach Huskies against the Trail Smoke Eaters here. We hosted the Shriners here, the Shrine Circus here for a number of years. We cover the floor, and they put in a track. The Knights of Columbus would come in, put in a track, and for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, we would have an indoor track event, and then we would have to have it ready for playoffs Monday,
I have memories of, I must have been about 15, and at the time, Steinbach hosted lots of the regional hockey teams. And I'm good friends with the hockey players, and I remember a friend of mine saying, hey, you have to come meet this guy. He's from Niverville, but he's playing in Steinbach. So the Centennial Arena is where I met my husband.
I didn't play in the Allen Cup, but I watched a lot of those hockey games. I watched a lot of junior hockey games here, and memories are great, to see the people that came through here, to see the facility that we have here. It's something that Steinbach could be proud of.
I think they tied a game all year. But then that year, we hosted our provincials. So after this atrocious year where, this team, and they had to fight so hard for everything they did on the ice. Okay, so they finished their playoffs really quickly there, and we had our provincial, we were hosting the Bantam AA provincials. So this little team who didn't do so good came into the provincials, and we didn't lose a game. So, just remembering all the energy, and these parents were tired because this was such a hard year, They made it through the season, came in, and, provincial hockey, provincial tournaments for minor hockey parents is like the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? So, it was this year of unbelievable, ups and downs, and it just ended with this amazing time at Centennial Arena, with our, little hockey players skating around with the cup.
It's the community volunteers actually that made this place run, not Jake Siemens and not people who get paid to be here. Yeah. It's the community volunteers behind all the programming, the community volunteers behind all the different events, and the push, right? The amount of people that came to council said, hey, we need to have a car show here, we need to do this, we need to do that, and then be part of it, right? And then to drive it.
It was finally, after the third vote, the time to do this, the centennial year, way back when. Now we're in overtime in terms of an event center.
The decision was made to put, when we needed to put in new boards, we put them in, we moved everything about 2 feet in, put it on top of the floating slab, and that solved all those issues with that. But it made the surface about 2 feet narrower.
We've tried to keep the facility in good condition, so we've replaced roofs over the years and done some renovations inside. But the fact remains we still have a small ice surface, which is a bit of a challenge in terms of hosting bigger events. Our ice surface is 13 feet shorter than regulation and about 1.5 feet narrower.
As much as I love this place and the nostalgic feeling it has, the game changed and there were issues that were facing us with this facility.
Our brine lines in the floor are kind of well past their prime. We've been dealing with leaks, the last number of years. Fortunately, it hasn't cost us a loss of ice, but it is a challenge of the pipes being old and brittle.
We would get the odd comment from parents, like what a dive or whatever, and you kind of like, well, that's our advantage actually, because because the ice surface was a little smaller or whatever, right?
I'm sad to see it go. It'll be nice to see a new facility.
There's mixed feelings, obviously, because there is a lot of history here, and people have made memories here. But having said that, it is pushing 60 years now, so we do need to kind of look into the future in terms of our growing community and what we would like to host as events. And there'll be new memories made in a new building, so it won't be like this is the end of it.
I mean, I played a lot of hockey here, and I've skated almost every day at lunch here for many years. I played old-timers commercial hockey and all those things, right? But it was always part of it. So what do? Like in the end, you put a memory, but also see a lot of excitement in a new facility. Better seating, better sight lines, warm when you're watching a game.
We're a community and we need to have good places for people to come and play and visit, hang out.
How do you remember a place, right? And it'll be in a book somewhere, there'll be a picture, and even now today, like there are things in Steinbach that are only a picture somewhere, right?
And somebody will be the first person to score in that building. Unfortunately, probably won't be you, eh?
And it won't be me, but it'll be somebody.
you maybe pop the skates on and play some senior hockey again?
Nice to go for a skate in it,
Yeah.
No doubt.
Good for us older guys to get together.